Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, our guest embodies the phrase, so others may live. He's Dan Holmes, U.S. Navy Special Operations Search and Rescue veteran, Membranous Nephropathy warrior, and 2024 NephCure Impact Award recipient. But more important for our conversation, he is the founder and CEO of the Enlisted Kidney Foundation, or the EKF. You may know Dan's origin story. In 2008, he led a daring below decks rescue during the $70 million blaze above the USS George Washington, a mission that saved four trapped shipmates, yet drenched him in toxic firefighting foam. That exposure sowed the seeds of the rare kidney disease that nearly took his life a decade later. But tonight just isn't about the fire that changed everything. It's about the movement that the fire ignited. Why the EKF exists. When Dan was told, quote, "It's cheaper to bury you at Arlington than it is to keep you alive," unquote, he did what every rescue swimmer is trained to do. He turned toward the danger. He studied his labs, firing underperforming doctors, and alongside his wife, built a blueprint for survival no textbook offered. The blueprint has become the famous Enlisted Kidney Foundation. Patient and family advocacy, one-on-one navigation, second opinion prep, and a 24/7 buddy battle pure network, veteran VA assisted navigation, specialized help for service-connected kidney injuries, powered by Dan's own 2-year fight for 100% VA recognition, policy and research frontline, testimony before Congress, including the NIH, the FDA that pushed toxic exposure language into the PACT Act, and now champions the bipartisan New Era Act to keep kidneys off of dialysis. Coffee and conversations plus national panels, intimate meetups that have already paired warriors with living donors and informed pharma trial design. Tiered media membership from $5 supporter tier to the VIP Navigator program. Every dollar funds scholarships for patients in crisis because, as the EKF's motto says, you are never out of the fight. EKF is the only accelerating a digital warrior dispatch newsletter, a veteran-led advocate corps, and regional centers of excellence for rare kidney research are all on the launch pad. The vision. Dan isn't just raising awareness. He's mobilizing an army of kidney warriors, veterans, civilians, clinicians, and policymakers so that no patient ever again hears nothing more we can do in the EKF future. Primary care doctors catch kidney disease early. Legislators fund cures as vigorously as they fund dialysis. And every patient has the technical knowledge to command their own care. So, audience, please join me in welcoming the man who pulled sailors from a burning ship and is now pulling an entire community toward a brighter horizon. Dan Holmes, founder of the Enlisted Kidney Foundation, a story forged in fire, fueled by family, and now one of the most influential kidney disease advocates in the United States, changing lives across the country every single day. Dan, thank you for enlisting us in this session.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Wow, what an introduction, Jim. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. I'm happy to be here today, man. We got a lot planned. We got to get through a lot today.
All right, so let's get started. Dan, can you take us back to May 22nd, 2008 on the USS George Washington and the fire, and tell us what happened that day?
Man, that day was incredible, man. It was a day that I will live with me forever. It was a fire happened on board the George Washington. We were out to sea. We had just pulled away from Valparaiso, Chile, on our deployment. So the deployment was to leave Virginia and take this nuclear aircraft carrier all the way around Cape Horn and over to Japan. We were replacing a diesel operated ship with a nuclear operation carrier, right? So the fleet was getting upgraded. So we were on this home port change, what we considered a world tour. And we were leaving Valparaiso, Chile. We were doing a RAS, which is a refueling at sea. We had another ship pulling alongside our aircraft carrier. And because, we got to take on gas for the fighter jets and for the planes, man. And fire broke out, man. Fire broke out. It was hell at sea, man. It was crazy. They had several attempts, man, to go down. The fire department on the ship itself attempted to go down and get these guys out of there, and multiple times, and just were unsuccessful. So we were able to formulate a team, put those guys together, put our heads together, and come up with an actual plan. And went down there and got these guys, man. Got these guys out of hell, man. We went to the depths of hell and back to get these guys out of there. And no loss of life, no significant injuries, but an exposure to a chemical that would live with me for the rest of my life. So that's what happened May 22nd, 2008. I was exposed to a toxic chemical that would live with me for the rest of my life.
This is the AFFF foam you're talking about?
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. So AFFF, aqueous film forming foam, right? It's designed to smother hot fires, aircraft fires, those kind of things, steel. And in the space that we were going to, where the other sailors were trapped, was a JP5 pump transfer room. And since we were taking fuel on board, they were down there transferring the fuel for list purposes for the ship, and it ultimately ended up getting trapped down there because the fire itself was on the other side of the wall, man. The other side of the wall.
And you were able to get those guys out. I mean, metal floors, metal hallways, metal ceiling, all reflecting the fire. Efforts to try before to get the sailors out, couldn't do it. Your team did it. How did you guys do it?
Well, we put our heads together. I mean, it was a collective effort. We were the ones that went down there to go get it, man. I mean, we weren't facing bullets, right? This was heat, an unimaginable heat, Jim. This was something that you couldn't think about. You're probably thinking right now, trying to imagine. You open up your oven and it's on broil and it's 500 degrees. Well, double that temperature is the temperature you got to walk in. Where the point where the fire hoses were turning to steam and rupturing. You couldn't bring fire hoses down there. So the Navy has these lava suits, potato suits is what we call them, because if you can't get them wet, so you get into a situation that gets so hot like that, if you get it wet and you take water down it, you bake like a baked potato. You know what I mean? You cook from the inside out. So it's one of those things where it's going to provide a little bit of more heat protection significantly, but you got to go into an environment with no water.
Okay, and talk to us a little bit about what was going on with you after you pulled these gentlemen out of the fire with the foam all over you and everything.
Yeah, so I come out after the rescue and, everybody's congratulatory, but the ship is in turmoil. This is not just an isolated incident that happened on the ship. There's dozens of fires happening currently on the ship. People's berthings, their living spaces, right? Their living quarters are spontaneously combusting. People's offices are catching on fire. Mattresses inside of the ammo magazines were burning and catching on fire because the space was so hot that they would just incinerate. Luckily, we had gotten rid of our bombs that on that particular moment, and we had had brought on a bunch of brand new mattresses for the ship's personnel and stuff, but that acted like fuel to the fire, man.
If I'm recalling correctly, Dan, after you rescued these men, you're covered from head to toe with this foam. You're trying to shower to get it off. You're throwing up. You're sick. Were you aware at the time that foam had PFAs on it that caused dangers to kidneys?
Not at all. No, I didn't know anything about it. I thought that, I know what it was. I know what it was for. But this is even before we had asbestos on the boat. You know what I mean? Like the pipes were covered in asbestos. This is before a lot of those chemical things started coming to light. It just wasn't where we were at. So yeah, I mean, having the AFFF on the boat, I didn't know that, you know, it causes kidney disease and kidney cancer and all these different things. You don't know, you don't understand any of that. It just tasted really bad. It was like swallowing a foamy cup of bleach. It was just disgusting. Very like very chemically tasting, and it made me sick. But nobody thought anything else of it. You just hose you off, right? Wash you down, get out of the clothes, and go take a shower. And that's what we did. We all just went our own way. I was exhausted. I went to my rack. The ship's on fire. And we needed a minute. We don't have any hot water, right? The ship is turned off. So let's talk about that for a second, Jim, because that brings me right into a segue that I think is really important that people need to kind of understand about this situation. You know, I had left my wife back home on deployment. You know, it's never easy leaving your family members back home, you know, when you're going on a deployment that's going to be a year long or longer. And at the time my son was a year and a half old, Jim, you know, so it was hard on him. Dad's leaving. It's not my first deployment. You know what I mean? So it's just another one. And this one's going to be a little bit longer. And my wife was transitioning out of the military at the time, you know, so she was getting out, trying to adapt to civilian life and get into the civilian workforce. And those kind of things were happening, you know, all while trying to raise this year and a half year old kid that's running around wanting everybody's attention. You know what I mean? So it was hard times. It was hard times for her. And then the lack of communication, you know, in 2008 on these ships, they didn't have Wi-Fi that you could use like you do today. You couldn't just open up your smartphone and connect to the ship's Wi-Fi laying in your rack when you're sleeping and talking to your loved ones back home. That didn't happen. It didn't exist. When we left the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel out of Norfolk, you slammed your little clamshell phone, you threw it in your rack, and you didn't touch it again until you pulled into port somewhere. You had no real communication. So at that time, we had libraries on the ship, and there was no smartphones. There was computers. I think the library had maybe 20 computers in there, and you can get in there and you had to wait in line hours. 6,000 people using 20 computers. Okay, trying to write emails back home, give people updates, and handle business from back home. You know what I mean? So our communication, when I was able to communicate with her, was frustrating. And you know, what do you want me to tell you now? You know, missed the whole month. I ain't talked to you in a month. What do you want me to tell you now? You know, like, okay, yeah, your son's going crazy and this shit's hard. And we didn't have a support system locally. And that was really hard. You know, I'm from Baltimore. She's from Ohio. Her family, we had a spread out family across different states and multiple states. And when we were stationed in Virginia, like our family wasn't there, you know. The Navy didn't provide as much resources, you know, other than being able to, you know, trying to get into some daycare and stuff. But the Navy at that point didn't really provide a lot of resources there, you know. So she was forced to kind of learn and trek that herself, which goes to show you the resilience that she has, which goes to show you why we're 18 years later, we're still together, you know. And it goes to show when rubber hits the road, Jim, who's going to be standing there with you? You know, when you get a diagnosis that's terminal, who's going to be there with you? And what are they going to do? They're going to stand beside you? You know, she took charge, stood in front of me and protected me, you know, with the doctors and in times that I couldn't. So, you know, we met in the Navy. We met on the Love Boat. We met on the USS George Washington. She was a ABE. And for those people who don't know that, that's an aviation boatswain's mate. And she does the equipment that launches and recovers fighter jets, right? She's the person in the green suit on the flight deck that you see in Top Gun with the planes flying over their head. That's her. That's what she did, is a very male dominant position in the Navy. And, you know, you got this little blonde, beautiful little girl doing it. It's awesome, right? And so one thing became a next, and, you know, we've been together ever since.
Great. Let's fast forward to 2020. You're diagnosed with membranous neuropathy. How did you first
Membranous.
realize that something was wrong?
Yeah. So membranous, right? I want to correct this way we say it because it's important. Membranous
Okay.
nephropathy. Okay. So the membranous is the membranes on the exterior portions of the kidney that have become scarred, and they end up laying flat, and that allows the proteins to spill through the kidneys. So membranous nephropathy showed up for me in 2020. I Out of nowhere, man, I just started retaining water. I didn't really have a whole lot of signs. And knowing now what I didn't know then, I had experienced kidney problems ever since I got out of the Navy. Kidney stones and things like that never really got attributed to anything related. They weren't thinking, let's test his, kidney function and all these things. And even with me, like getting out of the Navy, man, I felt healthy. I suffered from PTSD pretty bad, but I felt like a healthy individual, right? And when you're healthy and you're kind of on top of your game, you're not thinking about kidney disease. You're not thinking about random stuff like that, But that's why we want to bring it to the frontal lobe, Jim. That's why you and I do what we do on a daily basis. So we can bring this awareness to the people. Because listen, what if I had gotten checked my very first kidney stone, right? Maybe weeks, I think it was, after I got out of the Navy. And they found protein spilling in my urine at that point. Right? My journey, I think, would have been a lot different to be able to get that awareness up front. So in 2020, I swole up like the like the Nutty Professor. And my wife, we hobble into a local urgent care. And at the time, I didn't really know much about the VA healthcare system at all. I was using VA healthcare system minimally to help me with my PTSD symptoms, being diagnosed with that in 2012. So I had some experience on how to file claims and those kind of things, but I didn't really understand the VA healthcare system. So I drove into a local walk-in clinic, and the doctor's looking at me and he's squeezing on my legs. And he's like, man, you got like really, really bad pitting edema. Now, this is the first time I ever heard about pitting edema. I don't know anything about pitting edema. And for the listener, if you don't know about pitting edema, it's basically like when you go to squeeze a fatty part of your tissue. And usually the skin responds and bounces back. Well, this time when the doctor would squeeze on my legs and let go, the index, you can almost see this guy's fingerprints in my skin. It was crazy. And he was like, man, what's going do you have kidney issues? And I was like, I've had kidney stones before, but, and he was like, well, maybe you have a fully blocked kidney.
Dan, are you there?
This is, can I go to the VA? I didn't even know. We called. This was late at night. I think it was like 10 o'clock. We were driving around town trying to find an ER that could get me in immediately, that I didn't wait because, Jim, I just looked swollen. I didn't have a gunshot wound. I wasn't having chest pain significant. I was dying on the inside, Jim, not on the outside. So a patient that walks into an ER room like me, they're just going to put you in the waiting room and say, hey, sir, just, we got other things. It's a Friday night or something, it's busy. So we decided to go to the VA hospital because I was like, listen, it's almost an hour and a half away, and from where I live. And we went to the VA hospital. I checked in, man, and Jim, I didn't leave. I didn't leave for a long time. And that began the journey, of kidney disease for me.
Okay. Talk to us about your diagnosis with secondary MN and how you were negative for PLA2R and why that's
Great
important.
question. That's very important. Great question. Now, it's important to know that at the time I didn't know anything about PLA2R, right? I could barely pronounce membranous nephropathy, let alone anything, knowing what PLA2R was and are those things. I don't even think a lot of research was out about PLA2R at the time. And I'll get into that here in a second, Jim. So they couldn't find the VA. I'm in the VA. They are doing a plethora. I'm going through the gauntlet of testing. right? They got IVs everywhere they can think of, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Now, this is in the height of COVID, right? So remember, if you sneezed, you had COVID. That's what they thought. Let alone the Michelin tire man walks into the ER room, right? They're like, I don't know what's happening to this guy. You know, everybody freaked out, man. They stuck me in a quarantine room. I didn't even know what was going on with me. I'm just like, I don't know. And the VA, man, I'm there. Had some challenges while I was there for sure. You know, a lot of ups and downs. Unfortunately, a lot of more downs than ups because of where we were with kidney disease and specifically nephrotic syndrome and membranous nephropathy information that was out there. So they tell me one day, hey, look, tomorrow we're going to do a biopsy. So we're going to go into like the OR. We're going to go into your kidney. We're going to pull a piece of this kidney out and we're going to do a biopsy. It doesn't feel good, but we're going to get this done because we got to send it off. You're spilling a lot of protein in your urine. At this point, they had identified that I was suffering from nephrotic syndrome, right? That's what I was presenting with, was the nephrotic syndrome. The flavor of the nephrotic syndrome, like FSGS or membranous nephropathy or IgAN, right? Some of these other rare protein spilling kidney diseases, APOL1 mediated kidney disease, right? That's coming out now too. So all of these different things present usually, and I know this was for me, they presented as nephrotic syndrome, you know, the swelling, the water retention, you know, eyes getting puffy, everything just puffy, you know, blood pressure going through the roof and those kind of things. So it took a little while for it to come back. You know, the VA's never fast with really anything. So we get it back. Some time goes by and they tell me I got secondary membranous nephropathy. So what's secondary? I don't know what secondary is. Secondary is like idiopathic. It means we don't know. There's no known cause. We don't know what is causing this. But it's caused by something. Okay? It's caused by something. We just don't know what it is. So we're going to label it as secondary membranous nephropathy. But we're going to treat it like it's primary membranous nephropathy. Okay? Because the treatment at the time in 2020, Jim, it's only 5 years ago, man. 2020, the treatment for nephrotic syndrome, when you present for nephrotic syndrome, was high-dose steroid. Membranous nephropathy, they were like, we don't even know. We're like, we'll just go down the same road as everything else. So it was high-dose steroid. It was immunosuppressants. We got to kill the immune system because you got to understand something. Although these diseases are classified as kidney diseases, it's important for us to understand that these are autoimmune diseases. This membranous nephropathy lives in your immune system. It's an overreaction for your immune system. And what happens is that disease switches on and starts attacking organs. Well, in membranous, it attacks the kidney. So that's what was happening. My immune system was attacking the kidney. So the treatment was kill the immune system, put them on high-dose steroid, get rid of the swelling. But unfortunately, none of that worked.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what went on after this particular hospitalization.
So I was off and on in 2020. I was off and on in the hospital. It became a weight gain thing. So I would gain weight. They would release me and they're like, hey man, we had a certain weight. You know, if you get up to 250, you need to come back so we can dewater you. I'm like, all right. And at this time we had gone through enough trials and tribulations with pulmonary embolisms, with collapsed lungs, with failing organs. I mean, my heart, liver, everything was going in organ failure, Jim, because they didn't understand how to get the fluid off. I show up to these doctors, they're nephrologists. They're not just the floor doctor now. I'm upstairs. I'm admitted, right? I have an actual nephrology. My blood pressure's through the roof. And they can't understand, how do we get the blood pressure down and how do we get the fluid off? Because the more fluid that gets stored, the higher my blood pressures get. So that began the road of trying to figure this cocktail out, which we call the trifecta. And the trifecta allowed me to dewater pretty fast. It was an albumin injection, not just the Lasix. It was like a Bumex, an IV Bumex or Lasix, I forget the class of drug. I'm sorry, but it gets the water off your body. Okay, think of a wrestler who's trying to cut weight.
Diuretic?
A diuretic. There you go. So it's a diuretic, but it's a very strong diuretic. This is a diuretic that goes IV diuretic. Okay. And they kept pumping me for that. And the weight wasn't coming off. So it wasn't until we added the albumin. So my albumin levels were like 0.7 or something crazy. 0.2, like Jim, it's supposed to be like 4.5, and my albumin is like non-existent. Now, let's talk a little bit about albumin, because I don't know if the listener understands that and what albumin is. Okay, so in layman's terms, albumin is a protein that's in your body that is used as a catalyst that brings the water. So think of like the earth and the soil in the earth. And when it rains, the water gets sucked into the soil. So when you drink water and you hydrate yourself, the fluid gets retained, right? Well, albumin is the protein that brings the water into the kidneys and allows it to come out into your urine. Okay, so it brings the water around your body, no matter where it's at, and brings it to the kidney to be filtered. Okay, and that's basically the albumin. Okay, so that's what I was missing. I was missing the Uber driver. You know what I mean? I was missing that guy. He never showed up, man. So it wasn't until I had that, and then they boosted the Lasix, right, or the diuretic with a medicine that caused uncontrollable Charlie horses and cramps. I've heard about the Charlie horse and the cramps that people get while on dialysis. I can only imagine. These things were paralyzing, Jim. Paralyzing. So that's kind of like how that all worked out. We were able to get the water off of your body and those kind of things. And when my weight would get up to a certain amount, I'd show back up at the hospital. We hit me with the trifecta. They check me in. They get me in for probably 3 days, and then I would check out and go back out again. And I would go out. I'd last a week at home because you can't give yourself albumin. There's no albumin at home. So it is, that's why we need blood donors, because it comes from our blood, so it's important.
My notes are telling me that at one point in time, they're telling you that you only have 12 months to live and to call your family. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a hard time, man. Now with the kidney disease, it's not common that somebody goes and gives you a life expectancy. Okay. When you get diagnosed with kidney disease, they're not saying, hey man, you got an hour to live. That's not the typical. But with the way that I presented with so many different problems, okay, collapsed lungs, uncontrollable blood pressure, pulmonary embolisms, strokes. I mean, all this stuff was happening, and it was one after another after another. Like, no, there was no good news. And the doctors were coming in, and it's COVID. Okay, now, and it's COVID. The doctors only care about COVID. So my nephrologist comes in, and I was asleep. They wake me up, and he's like, listen, man, I don't, we're at a loss. We don't know kind of where to go from here. There's not a lot of research on this disease. And the way that you're progressing and you're going downhill very fast, I doubt you make it a year. I doubt you make it a year. And I think you should call your family. So the hard conversation had to take place, talking to the wife and, having those kind of conversations, man. And her not being able to come up and see me because of COVID. There were COVID restrictions wouldn't allow for visitors. So we visited with each other on FaceTime, in the hospital bed, thinking that I may not see outside again. Can you imagine what your head goes through at that time? It's not something that you plan for, But it was real. You had to face it. I had to understand it. I had to say, okay, I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to prove them wrong, because these doctors don't understand who I am, my mentality, the no quit attitude. They don't know what I've been through and how I know how to fight. So, my wife and I, we looked at each other in the face, man. It was like, it's game on. Let's fight it. Let's do everything we got to do. And it started with education. It started with educating myself about nephrotic syndrome, kidney disease, rare kidney disease, membranous nephropathy, all the different flavors. And I said, if I'm going to die here in this hospital, I'm going to die the smartest guy, because I need to get to the level that my doctors are at, so I can help make informative decisions for ourselves. I had to be my own best advocate. And we fired doctors left and right. They would come in, they'd give you some bad advice. They try and say, hey, we're going to go down this route. And you're like, no, man, there's new research out here that you're not tracking. There's new things that we can try. Well, how come we can't try some of these other things? And that led down the road of the cyclosporin, cyclophosphamide, an Acthar patient. I mean, all these different things. Jim, if you walk in with membranous nephropathy today, hopefully, your medical team is going to start pointing you to rituximab and not high-dose steroid and those kind of things, because I'm dealing with the side effects of that too. These things never go away. The medication that you take are toxic, and these things don't go away either. There's no good pill that makes you just all go away.
Talk to us a little bit about those treatments, the cost, how long it took, and the discussion that you had with your physicians.
Yeah, so it took a long time. It took me going outside of the VA. They have a program called community care. At this point, I'm learning through trial and error how to navigate the VA system, patient advocacy offices, and calling people, having to get the White House on the phone and write your Congress people and really put your story out there. I had to be able to fight for myself. I had to get the attention of other people to help me with this fight, and it just, with the doctor, and nobody's there doing any of this for you. You have to figure out a way to kind of do this on your own, if that kind of makes sense. Like, you got to figure out kind of how to navigate this road by yourself, and luckily the social media, man, we were able to find and get hooked into some really good organizations that were able to provide us some additional education that I would have never known outside of that, that got me down the road of the rituximab. There were trials going on, and I had the opportunity to go talk to the NIH and go talk to the FDA, right? And that got me in front of the scientist who created rituximab, where it was originally designed for rheumatoid arthritis. But they saw some signs inside of it. Man, I don't know all the jargon in there, right? I'm not a scientist, but ultimately there was some positive things there. Similarly, at the same time, Jim, they were starting to discover PLA2R. Dr. Beck was making breakthroughs and tracking this PLA2R gene that's in your blood that they can use to diagnose membranous nephropathy now. And you don't necessarily have to do a kidney biopsy. So you've got PLA2R positive in your blood. Hey, man, you got primary membranous. Let's put you on rituximab or something like that, and let's get you going. Now, rituximab for me was 4 injections. It was 4 blood infusions. They were 2 weeks apart. So I did my first 2. It's important to understand, people who have taken rituximab or have tried it or have been offered it, I get this question pretty often because it's starting to be more prevalent out there in the medical community. And rituximab doesn't work right away. It's a very long-acting medicine, and it doesn't really work right away. It took me a good 6 months after my fourth round. Okay. So 6 months after my 4th round. And now these were 2 weeks apart. Then they were like 3 months and then 2 more weeks apart. Does that make sense? So I did the first 2
Right.
and then I waited about 3 months. We were tracking blood levels. There's a way that you can track that. And it's called a CD20 or CD19. You can track those. We were tracking those blood levels to kind of see we want those to fall. So what that does is that rituximab basically just takes that immune system and just kind of puts it at bay, right? Keeps it from getting stronger. And it doesn't work for everybody, but for me, we saw really, really good improvements. It really gave me the opportunity to lower the proteinuria, so lower the proteins that I was spilling in my urine. But it took a long time, and we weren't really hopeful, and in between that 6 months before it started working, what do? We were almost out of options. We didn't want to add additional medication because we didn't really know when the rituximab was going to start working, right? We just had to constantly do 24-hour urine collections. And I was on every week, twice a week, I would go and get blood tests and urinalysis done twice a week, just to make sure and kind of see if, how much protein we were spilling at that point. So it took a while for it to start to come down. And then once it really came down, the blood pressure became uncontrollable. And that was weird. So I had a lot of issues dealing with the blood pressure side of things because we couldn't.
Dan?
That road and, investigating through the blood pressure and how I was managing my blood pressure and things that I can do myself, and mitigating some stress and those kind of things. So,
Dan, what do you wish more people knew about kidney health, especially how symptoms can take over years to show up?
Man, so listen, it's important to understand that I had kidney disease ever since I left that ship. I just didn't know it. I didn't know it for 12 years. And until it got really, really bad. You know what I mean? When it got really bad, it just comes on. There's not a lot of signs and symptoms, I mean, people get sick and they get flu-like symptoms, and that could be the toxins. Think about what your kidneys do, right? Think about the toxins that they're constantly trying to filter out. Well, if it can't filter out the toxins, man, they're just going to build up in your body, right? In the form of creatinine. When that creatinine level gets up too high, when you got a 1.7, you're over 2 on creatinine levels, that kind of stuff is, it gets dangerous. It gets dangerous, man. And the kidney function declines.
Talk to us about the review that you had of your biopsy, the reanalysis of that biopsy you mentioned 12 years later. What did they find?
So, right. So let me back up a little bit. I never had a biopsy getting out of the military. So when I got out of the military, there was no talk about kidney disease. There wasn't even talk about PTSD, right? None of this really took place. We didn't put things together after all the kidney stones and all the different kidney issues until 2020, until I blew up. So then we had a pathologist, the VA read my slides. When I'm out in community care, now my new medical team, he was like, hey, I went to school with a pathologist. Do you mind if I send your slides to him? I'll get them from the VA. I'll send them to him. I just want him to look at it because they kept saying it was secondary, but then nobody could tell me what it was secondary to, right? They didn't understand that. So I was going cancer, lupus. I didn't have diabetes. It wasn't diabetic nephropathy. Nobody knew. So the pathologist reads the slides, calls him back some time after, and the doc calls me and he goes, hey, you ever been a firefighter, man? I said, firefighter? Nah. Wait, why? Right? And this little light bulb above my head went off, Jim. And I was like, what? So, I was like, so he was like, because there's this chemical that we found that's used to put out fires. It's used in like firefighting situations. It's called AFFF. We can see it in your slides in your kidney. And Jim, it was right there, man, when I just started putting things together, man. We just started going down that road now, right? Hey, I did have an exposure. Hey, I was in that fire. Hey, that stuff that I swallowed, that was pretty nasty. That was AFFF. What? You see what I'm saying? So we started going down that path, being able to connect those dots. And once we were able to connect those dots, I had something tangible, right? I can say, hey, look, we have proof from a medical person that says I have this chemical in my kidney from the US Navy when I was in the Navy. And it was from this situation that happened. You think it would be an open and closed shut case, right?
Right.
Not at all, Jim. It was years of fighting, years and years and years in fighting. Man, I just celebrated my 1 year anniversary of being recognized as 100% disabled.
Wow. 2008 accident, 2020 diagnosis, and then 12 years go by before they figure it out. That's a long time, Dan.
It's a long time, man. It's a long time. And that's why it's important for the awareness. It's important what we do and getting those words out because, like I said before and earlier, if I would have known then what I know now, I would have saved myself so much trauma, Jim. I could have saved so much trauma. Listen, I'd like to segue a little bit into kind of what we're doing now, because that's kind of where this conversation sounds like it's going, right? And we created a foundation, a nonprofit organization. And the reason I created this organization was because when we look out, and I looked at the space, the kidney space and the kidney world, okay? There's some underrepresented communities, and our veterans are one. And I can help veterans not have to go through the trauma that I had to go through. I can help people and use the pain that I had to go through to navigate this weird VA system and provide some assistance to people that ultimately almost cost me my life and one day might. So we started the Enlisted Kidney Foundation. We want to be able to be a voice that turns into action. There's a lot of people out there that talk kidney disease and kidney disease awareness, and that's important. But there's not a lot of people out there that are actually telling you and helping you with your kidney disease. Would that be nice if somebody could come to you and say, hey, you had a platform, right, that I could go to somebody that's spilling protein and be like, hey, man, you're spilling 15,000 milligrams of protein, man. Are you on an anticoagulation medicine? Are you on blood clot medicine? Because that's something that I should have known. That almost cost me my life, just not knowing that information. You see what I'm saying? So I want to be able to provide a space for these people to be able to take them to the next step. Use the connections that I've been able to build around us over these years. You know, Jim, we've met some amazing people like yourself and a lot of the other people that you work with and that we both work with, right? Through the years. I want to be able to connect the people that are out there in the middle of nowhere that don't understand or just too busy. I just need a resource that I can go to that can get me help, whether that's point me in the direction that I need to go next. Jim, I get conversations, I get calls, man. I got a call last week, and it was from a kidney patient that had seen one of my talks on social media. And he reached out and asked, can I call you real quick? I have a question. I'm at a doctor's office and I booked an appointment because I heard one of your videos and it motivated me to go out and make an appointment because for real, I haven't been to the doctor in so long. And I went to the doctor's and he calls me back and he says, I have stage 3 kidney disease. I have a EGFR. I have a kidney function of 55%. What do I do? So I'm back now for my follow-up appointment. And I want to know, what questions should I be asking today? I'm going to have about 15 minutes with this doctor. And I need to know next steps for me. So I was able to kind of give him those tools and those resources and the questions to ask to point him in the right direction, right? He ended up coming on to our monthly coffee and conversations that we hold. and we hold a monthly coffee conversations so we can have conversations like we're having today, but with anybody and everybody, right? We want to be able to bring people in and provide resources, Jim, right? I want them to be able to connect with you so you can put them, maybe the best thing for them next is to talk to Jim Myers, right? Maybe the next thing that's next is to get education and talk to somebody that specializes in putting people on transplant lists. Maybe the next thing you need to do is just make an appointment at your doctor. Maybe you just need to be motivated. Maybe you just need to drink a little bit of water, a lot more water, and not stay dehydrated. Maybe you can hop on some of these medications if you catch it early enough, like this guy, and get on something like Jardians, right? Or Farxiga or Farxiga, right? So they got these medications out now that are prolonging the kidney health. They're not curing kidney disease, right? Because that doesn't exist, but they're prolonging it. They're giving you an opportunity to educate yourself, to understand what you're going through. Because a lot of times with us kidney patients, man, it sneaks up out of nowhere, right? And we don't have time to prepare. But if I can get into the doctor and I can say, hey, I got stage 3 and not stage 5, maybe I can prolong how long I have this kidney. Maybe they can come out with a new medication. Maybe I can try a rituximab or some of these other things. Maybe I can enter into a trial, right? Maybe I can gain a little bit more knowledge, just time. That's what the kidney patients need. We all need time. And the earlier that we can find out that we got kidney function decline, the better.
You've turned pain into purpose. You've made this your mission. For those who aren't familiar, what exactly sets the Enlisted Kidney Foundation apart? What makes it special?
I appreciate that question, man. We are a action-based nonprofit organization. We're about taking action. We're making change and taking action. There's a lot of people that want to talk, right? We're enlisting people to take action, to go out to Congress and teach them and teach patients how to advocate for themselves, bring people in. We'd like to be able to give out scholarships to be able to help kidney disease patients get to some of these events and functions that can better their life, like ones that I've been to that completely changed my life. I want to be able to help people get there. I want to be able to get into the communities that are far too often forgotten about. And we want to hold events in those communities. I want to connect my veterans with their local DAV offices. I want to help them start getting their claim going, right? I want to be able to help these people navigate the VA healthcare system. Did you know you can go to community care? Do you know what that process looks like? Do you know the documentation that's required? There's a lot of different things that people don't really understand until you start getting into it. Hey, man, I've been there, right? I've been there. Let me give it to you so you don't have to go there either. Or if you do go there, you're going there with all the ammo and ammunition that you need. So that much makes us different, man, is we're action-based. We need to raise funds, of course, so we can provide scholarships, so we can continue to do the things that we're doing. We're building our website right now. That's going to be amazing. We got a GoFundMe out there right now. We're trying to raise these funds to be able to handle and do these things. Starting a nonprofit's not easy. It's not an easy task, but we're going to take it on. We're going to do it. We have the willpower to do it. I got the team to do it. Who better else to do it than us, right? We made it this far, Jim. Who better else to do this? Let's go take our veterans. Let's go take our Black and African American communities. Let's go take the people that far too often get forgotten about. Let's go take the people that are on dialysis and get them off of it. Let's go get the people who are on the kidney transplant list, kidneys. Let's take action. That's what we need to have happen. That's what we need to do. Now, I appreciate you sharing our GoFundMe, man. This is the only way that we can go right now. Our 501c3 is pending. Okay. It is a tax deductible cause though. So we can still accept donations. We're just waiting for the paperwork, man. And bigger things will come from that. So locally, right, my local Space Coast, Florida guys, listen up. Locally, we're working with an organization, I don't want to give it away, that is kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters. And they want to put on a celebrity game for us in our local community, you know, and promote kidney disease. And let's talk about kidney. We're going to have kidney healthy drinks and foods and those kind of things out there, a bunch of swag, and to get the kids involved, and let's play some basketball. So we got some cool things that are happening, that are taking off, right? We're working with our local VA offices to be able to provide some of this support to some of these people. You know, I want to work with my local nephrologist. My nephrologist that I have right now at the VA with me right now, I met at a conference, a kidney disease conference. And the only reason I have him as a doctor today is because I raised my hand and asked the questions that nobody else was asking. And I got him to get in charge of my care today. And we're going to be working with a lot of different resources like that to be able to push diet and healthy activities, staying active, hydration. What does that look like? How do we reach our youth, 18, 25 years old? How do we reach those guys? How do we make sure they're getting their kidneys checked? You know what I mean? I was 24 years old getting out of the military in 2008. In one of the worst economies that we've seen in my lifetime, you know? And I didn't understand how to navigate let alone transition out of the military, you know? But EKF, the Enlisted Kidney Foundation, that's what we're doing. We are doing that every day. Every day we have conversations with patients like you and I, Jim, and we provide that support, that one-on-one tailored support. And we're starting to get an influx, okay? We're starting to make some noise, which is awesome. Platforms like yours, I super appreciate, Jim, because this gets the word out to people. It gives them a place to go. It gives them something to do today. It gives them something to do right now, right? Right. A lot of times we listen to kidney disease speeches. We listen to kidney awareness, you know, and then we're like, all right. And then you go back to the crazy world that we live in, you know? You listen to a podcast in your car, then you get out and somebody cuts you off, and then you forgot about everything you talked about you heard on the podcast. I want to leave you with breadcrumbs and a place to go. The Enlisted Kidney Foundation is an amazing place to go. You don't have to be a veteran. Okay? Enlisted Kidney Foundation is helping anybody with a rare disease. Kidney disease. We're the Enlisted Kidney Foundation. I talk to people about heart disease. I talk to people about liver disease. I got people that reach out to us that are diabetics, that are trying to stay off dialysis, don't want to get that far, that are getting, you know. So we want to open that up to people and have them come out. So I'd like to pivot and let you guys know we did just start and launched.
Okay. Just so people know, on my personal Facebook page,
actionable reason to donate, support our cause, and it allows us to personally provide you and cut out that time and personally provide you space so we can carve out exactly what you need, tailored to you, and get you in front of the people that we all know, Jim, they need to be in front of, right?
Yeah, I wanted to let people know, if you go to my personal Facebook page, Jim Myers, this broadcast is pinned to the top of that page, and in the comments is all the things that we're talking about. Links, information, website information, all of that. So if you want to drill down on the things that Dan's been mentioning to us today, go there and check out the comments. What has been the most rewarding part of your work with the EKF so far?
Right now, the most rewarding part is being able to see the faces of the people that we're helping and see the light, when you can give somebody the light at the end of the tunnel, when you can turn the switch on for them so that they can see it themselves, it's an amazing, powerful feeling, man. It's addictive, to be honest with you. You know that there's more people out there. When you can take somebody who is in tears and put a smile on their face, because now they have something tangible. They know what to do tomorrow. They know what to do next. And a lot of times, next is just waiting for your doctor. And that is not always the best thing to do when you're just waiting around for your next appointment. There's a lot you can do for yourself. So advocacy, education, educate yourself about your own body and what you're putting in it and how you're treating it. Come hop on and enlist with us at the Enlisted Kidney Foundation. Join our Patreon account. Get access to us. Specific dialed in access. You can follow all of our social media accounts. Jim, we're active, like Facebook, our Facebook page at the Enlisted Kidney Foundation or at Enlisted Kidney Foundation. Same thing on Instagram at Enlisted Kidney Foundation. Our email address, email us. You want to join? You want to be an advocate with us? You want to stand next to us and go after some of these guys and get some real change happening? Send me an email, theenlistedkidney@gmail.com with your contact information so we can get in touch with you guys and we can move forward. Come enlist with us on our Patreon account. Go to Patreon and enlist with it. Look up Enlisted Kidney Foundation, and wherever you post, feel free, share my videos, share all of this information so that way more people, we can reach more faster. There are people, look, it's a time clock. There's a time clock on this. It's one of those diseases, man, that time matters. And we need to get to those people that we all know that we need to be in front of.
Right. And again, just so people understand, this broadcast is pinned at the top of my Facebook page. In the comments, all of these places that Dan's talking about, there are links there. So you shouldn't have any problem finding Dan or his foundation.
Can I throw my our future web address? So we've locked down our web address, enlistedkidneyfoundation.org. We've locked it down. It's just not built yet, but enlistedkidneyfoundation.org. It's coming soon, guys. Stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. I got one of the best in the industry making it for us, my guy.
The mission's moving forward. We're rallying the troops. What are the EKF's biggest initiatives right now?
Right now, it's grassroots fundraising. It's one-on-one help right now. That's what we're doing right now. It's really hard for us to get some bigger donations in until we can get that 501c3 completed. And once we get that back, man, we got a bunch of people that are just lined up, and we got so many amazing things planned with so many different people, man. I don't want to give it away. We got a lot of stuff coming. Follow us. Stay tuned. Hit us up on the socials. People are popping in our DMs, sending us messages, just asking us questions. I answer questions. People will tell you, man, I answer everything those people pop in there. All right.
All right, Dan, we're in the home stretch. Do you have any final statements that you would like to make today to our audience before we conclude the broadcast?
I appreciate that. Listen, final statements. I don't like to say final statements because nothing's ever final. And we'll see you tomorrow. Because we're out here every day fighting this kidney disease, man. I can't stress enough the importance of early detection. I can't stress enough the spotlight that Enlisted Kidney Foundation is putting on top of our veterans and kidney disease by going to Congress. I got some guys that I know from the Navy that are up there. We're going to have some good conversations this year, Jim. I'll be up there in July, man. We're enlisting help to come with us. We got a big push that we're doing this year. Look, the New Era Act, right? I was up there to try and help pass the PACT Act. We're doing the New Era Act this year again. But check this out, Jim. HR Resolution 1518. They're in sequential order, right? Last year, man, we were in the 7,000s. We've made it so far up the chain. We have a real chance this year of getting this passed. And we got some people that are willing to hop on board here and make some real change for us. So check out HR Resolution 1518. Enlisted Kidney Foundation is going to partner with NephCure organization, and we're going to be out there lobbying with NephCure's organization, like always, and making sure that we can get the people that need to hear this about our HR resolutions and about these. We're all affected by this kind of stuff and these policies. So stay tuned. Reach out if you can. You're never out of the fight.
You let me know when, Dan. I'll show up.
I got you, brother.
All right. Listen, thank you, Dan, for sharing this powerful story. Again, there's the website that you can go to help fund Dan's foundation. Let's get this mission accomplished. Again, anything you want to know about Dan, any way you need to find Dan, any way you need to find this broadcast, you can catch the replay. Go to my Facebook page. It's all pinned to the top of my Facebook page in the comments. Great job tonight, Dan. Just really raised a lot of awareness, made it all a little bit smarter. As you say, every warrior needs a team today, and the EKF is inviting you to be part of theirs. So don't miss out.
Come on, bring it. Let's go. We need y'all. We need you. If you're listening, we need you. Yes, you. We need you.
All right. I appreciate you coming on and educating us and raising awareness tonight, Dan. And thank you for your enthusiasm and all your hard work. I got a few things to button up with my audience about what's going on next week, but I just wanted to say what a tremendous job that you've done, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you and the foundation are going to be up to in the near future.
If you know anything about me, Jim, I'm never out of the fight, man. We're going to take this to the top. We don't ever quit, man. So it's going to be something powerful. Hop on the train when we can. You know, we need some soldiers. Let's go. Hey, thank you for me. I want to appreciate the platform. I appreciate your time, Jim. And from everybody, my wife and everybody at Enlisted Kidney Foundation, she's in the background helping me out 24/7, man. I don't do this alone. You know, I don't do this alone. My son, 18 years old, helping us out. We don't do this alone. We all just want to say thank you.
My great pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. And you say hello to Stacy and your son for me.
I will. Thank you, Jim.
All right. So that's our broadcast for this evening. Got an interesting broadcast coming on next week. Our guest is Kevin Schnorr. He's from the PKD Free Alliance. Their ideas, as you know, because we had Richard Kellner on earlier, they take embryos and they find the embryos that don't have the polycystic kidney disease. What's the right word? Well, they don't have polycystic kidney disease. They implant those, the IVF, and then the polycystic kidney disease stops running in that family, and the baby is born without PKD through in vitro fertilization. So should be a very, very interesting broadcast. You're going to want to tune in and check that out. I thank you for being with us tonight. I thank Dan for coming on and talking to us. And I will see you next week as always. And thanks again for watching. Take care. Have a good week.